Alright, so Boomsday is out. Spoiler-wise, not game-wise. And so I have to talk about that, because that's what I do with my life. Quick reminder of how I do this thing. I don't think there's a lot of value in just saying cards are bad, deciding they're going to be bad before you have a chance to actually use them. That doesn't do anything. It's much more interesting to actually try to see how everything will be useful. Some of these probably aren't useful. But we're going to go in with an open mind for each and every card and try to see where it might work. So with that out of the way, I think Druid's going to be really fast because these cards are bonkers. So it's always helpful to do like a reassessment of the random card pools in the game, because it's pretty common in Hearthstone that you don't just play your 30-card deck against their 30-card deck. There are these weird oddball variables, and you're often playing the full database of cards in the game. So that obviously changes as cards are added to the game. Whether or not you want to use them, it's going to affect things. So I've gone over a few of like the notable things that have changed, and one addition. So we'll start. The big question is, how good is discovering a mech? There are two classes, Hunter and Warrior, that get random mechs. It seems most prominent in Warrior, so I mostly looked at it from that perspective. There are going to be 38 mechs in Standard once the set comes out for Warrior. 4 of those are going to be class cards. So you have very high odds of hitting Dynomatic and Nullifier in particular, which we'll go over those later. I don't think Nullifier is a card you'd ever really put in your deck, but discovering them can be quite powerful, because one is just really big and hard to deal with, and the other one's pretty reasonable removal while developing. So discovering things like that can be very powerful in the right situation, and you have high odds of hitting those. For the card pool in general, over half of them are pretty dinky minions. Like, there's a lot of 1, 2, 3 drop stuff that's not super impactful, and most of the rest is just like moderate size. There's only a couple giant things. I think it's just like Bulldozer and Mecha Thune. Yeah, so on average, you're gonna get offered like one really small thing and one like so-so thing, like a 4-drop, 5-drop sort of thing. So I think discovering a mech isn't super impactful. It's probably reasonable. And so like for the Boom hero power, discovering them many times, getting a bunch of reasonable cards is fine. It's not going to be comparable to something like Deathstalker Rexar, where you're just consistently getting these big bombs and slamming them down. Statistically, that's not going to happen. Also, it's worth pointing out that you're not likely to get Ziliax like at all. He's a 1 in 38, not a class card, no bonus there. So just something to keep in mind. For Hunter, the pool doesn't change too much. You're just more likely to get something small. They add 2 small mechs, and they take away 3 of the bigger mechs. So Hunter, even lower impact per mech for Cybertech chip. Spiteful Summoner, 10s get better. We get a 10-10, which is, fine. And more importantly, we get an 8-8 rush. So Spiteful Summoner deck's probably going to make a bit of a resurgence. They haven't really gone away, I guess, but yeah, 10s get better. 8s get worse though. Dr. Morgan is pretty bleh. It's not terrible, but meh. And Gloop Sprayer, which we can actually see his head poking out down here, is a complete disaster. So 8s are not good. So you probably don't want to go Priest this time. Probably want to lead more towards Druids. Although 6s get a lot worse. 6s get a lot worse, but it is worth noting there's now a 5-12 taunt with no downside in the pool. So a very, very small percentage of the time you just get a completely insane outcome and your opponent rage quits. But it should be noted that most of the 6 drops in the set are like 3 3s and 3 4s. They're not good. So I don't know. But the 10s get better. So if the 10s are getting better, that's what you want to hit anyways. Spiteful probably has a place. Hagatha's getting slightly better. She's getting 4 good cards and a meh card. Primordial Glyph, slightly better. 3 good cards and 2 meh cards. Stonehill Defender. For neutrals, it's staying pretty much the same. You get some bad stuff, and then you also get like Omega Defender, which is pretty good. However, it's really notable that for Paladin it actually gets worse. You have Annoya module, which is a good card, I think, on its own. But it's bad that it's a class card because it decreases your odds of hitting Tyrion and Tarim, the T guys. The T guys are really the reason why Stonehill is most often used as a Paladin card, because it's so powerful to hit those guys, especially surprise extra copies of those guys. And there are so few taunts, or there have been so few taunts in Paladin, that it's very likely. But now it's slightly worse. Slightly worse. It's not like stop playing it in Paladin worse, but... And Annoying module is not even bad. It's worth noting you're not going to hit those as often, so you might want to think twice before just autopilot throwing it in. Deathstalker Rexar is getting slightly worse. However, all the cards are text cards that it's getting. They're just like big stat text cards, which really importantly does not change your odds of hitting lifesteal and barely changes your odds of hitting charge. It just makes it less likely you get Tundra Rhino. But other than that, like, it doesn't affect the keyword side at all. So you're just as likely to get like lifesteal, about as likely to get charge and rush, which is really all you want, right? You're going to play big things no matter what you get. So you just want to be healing and doing things quickly so you don't die before you can just outvalue. Because Deathstalker Rexar can grind out anything. Absolutely anything. You just need to not die. And that doesn't really change. So that's pretty even. And lastly, for the things I looked at, there's a lot of bullshit we could look at, but these just seem like the notable ones. Rogue stealing type effects seem like they're getting better. Class cards are more powerful on average. That being said, the Druid cards, which we're right about to look at, are pretty combo-oriented. They're kind of difficult to use, I think, if you're just randomly getting them as like a test rogue or something. And you're probably going to see a lot of Druids, because these cards are bonkers. And also, Rogue has been a pretty prominent class, and is probably going to stay a pretty prominent class in the meta, unless something unforeseen happens. And that's obviously a really bad matchup, because you're not even getting cards from another class, you're just getting random Rogue shit. So I think this will be a bad environment for test style decks for a while, at least in Standard. Where there's in Wild there's more class diversity, and the quality of most of these classes, the card quality is going up for that effect. So maybe in Wild tests will get better, but in Standard doesn't seem to be the case. Anyways, so let's run through these because these are all pretty clear. Biology Project. This is Innervate before the nerf, but you get to keep the mana. It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane. Like, this is the scariest card, man. This is crazy. It does ramp your opponent, but yeah. Floop's Glorious Galoot. This is like a super innovate for like token decks. It's hard to say if token decks will be a thing in Druid. Everything's kind of pushing them towards ramping and comboing. And if you're doing that, you don't really want the gloop. But if you are doing that, or if you're doing the token stuff, it seems like it's probably a good card. I don't know. It's a one of, so I don't know if it's like good enough. This is something you'd want, like... When would you even want this? Like turn 4 or turn 5? After you've developed a board, you trade everything in, or you play this. Don't fuck up like day 9. You play this, and then you start trading everything in. And then you're just suddenly up at around 10 mana, and you can Ultimate Infestation. That sounds great, but that's way less likely than just playing 2 Biology Projects and Nourishes and stuff. And yeah, no. Just do that instead. Dendrologist. It's a River Croc, but River Crocs aren't that bad. They get a bad rap, but I mean, River Croc lists have seen a lot of play recently. They have to do something other than just be a 2/3. And the thing this does, other than be a 2/3, is discover a spell. A Druid spell, which is really notable. Druid spells are insane. Some of the highest card quality of any random card pool. You have Ultimate Infestation, Spreading Plague, Nourish, Swipe. Like, even the bad cards that you don't play in actual decks are still good cards. Like Starfire, Starfall, Nash, that kind of stuff. They're still just good cards. They're just not good enough because Druid has so many crazy things. So it's just like, how hard is the condition of getting a Trent out? There's a lot of ways to summon them. it's hard to say if that'll come together. We're going to get to Mulch Muncher, which is like a better reason to run the deck. And if you're doing that kind of thing for Mulch Muncher, throw in 2 Dendrologists and it'll probably be pretty strong. Like, whenever this triggers, it's insane. It's just, does it trigger? Don't know. Landscaping, very solid, even outside of like a Trent tribal deck. Just 3 mana, summon 2/2/2s. That's solid. Any sort of flood the board token druid would love that. Excuse me. Floop. You know about Floop. Fucking bonkers. Juicy Psych Melon. You probably know about Juicy Psych Melon. Fucking bonkers. It's worth saying this is not a 4 mana sprint. But it's also not worse than a 4 mana sprint. It's weird. Targeted draw is really, really powerful. Targeted draw is crazy powerful. In Wild, this card's fucking mad. Like, you get, even if you just get Kuhn and either Aviana or Malagos, and you don't put 7 or 8s in your deck at all. Like, it's just the consistency of being able to draw into those cards even faster, particularly in Wild, where your burst potential is just fucking ludicrous with this style of deck. It's a little scary. It's a little scary. It also draws all pieces of the Togwaggle combo. In Standard, you know, you can get Lich King, Hadronox, people have been playing Tyrantus, you can still hit Malagos, find a 7-drop. Like, you don't even have to hit all 4 of these for it to be good. If it's drawing 3, or if it's drawing 2 cards that your entire deck is built around for 4 mana, that's really powerful. Like, Arcane Intellect is still seeing a lot of play. For 1 more mana, you can draw both of your win conditions and jam them together a few turns later and kill your opponent. This card's great. Okay, Tending Torrent. I think this would be really good if they just took out this other. I don't think you can't see my cursor. If they took out the other, if it just gave your minions, I think as a 6 mana Yeti that buffs your board, this would be pretty reasonable. Not even like strong, just reasonable for like a more mid-rangey token deck. As is, it's just a little too small. Neither effect's very good. 6 mana, 3/4. You're paying a lot to get either of these. So, yeah, could be wrong, but I don't see that one being very good. Dream Petal Florist is like Thaurissan on crack for 1 card. The issue is, it's just a question of if you can control this. If you have a deck where you can consistently whittle down your hand to being just the minion you want to buff, and it's like some crazy like Malagos or just whatever combo piece you're using to kill them, and you can consistently reduce that by 7, then this is insane. It's just a question of if you can do that. It doesn't hit your whole hand like Thaurissan, so it is a bit more difficult. I don't think it's strictly better than Thaurissan. I also don't think it's worse than Thaurissan, because 7 is huge. 7 is a massive, insane discount. Like, people lost their minds whenever you could get Thaurissan to trigger twice, and it's just like, you have like unlimited power, just a discount of 2 on these cards. 7 is like all of the mana. It's insane. So this will definitely find some combo deck somewhere. I don't know what it is specifically, but it's just got to. It's too powerful a discount to not show up somewhere. And it could be your 7 off of Psych Melon if you're into that, you know. That's a possibility. Gloop Sprayer, I don't know. Like, it's not a bad effect. I just don't know. Like, if you're doing this in a combo, you have better combo tools. So you think, all right, it's a mid-range finisher. But, like, what are you duplicating? Like, let's say you have, like, the middle case of 2 Druids of the Claws out. So you play this, you get a 4/4 and 2/4/6 taunts for 8 mana. That's really powerful, but it's like, how often are you going to get something that good? And, like, I don't know. I feel like Druid has better things to do than, like, the mid-range game plan at the moment. Like, their combo game is just so powerful. Why don't you just play combo Druid? Just any kind of combo Druid you want. This is... yeah, I don't know. It's not a terrible card. I feel like it's wasted on Druid. Yeah. And then Mulch Muncher. This card's really strong. This card's a really good reason to play Trents. Trents. If you discount it by like 2, 8/8 rush, like that would be good enough. We've had a 7/7 rush-ish in charged Devilsaur be okay as like the worst case scenario for the card, and it still like be acceptable. This is bigger than that. This is usually going to be a lot less than an 8/8 though. Like that discounting 2, that's landscaping right there. If you living mana, by the time you start gaining any crystals back, you're just going to slam down an 8/8 and yeah. Like, if that deck exists, I don't know if that deck can exist right now, but if the deck exists, you throw 2 in, it's your finisher, it does really crazy things. Yeah, so that's that. Druid's not going away.